We're back, everyone, having a great discussion with Dr. Pamela Smith about her book, Women's Hormones. This book is fantastic. What you must know about women's hormones. Get this book, get it into the copy of this in the hand of your physician. You know, we could really spread this information out there. We could change so many women's lives and show them that there is a better way. You can stay healthy naturally. I was at a beauty salon this past week getting some work done, and I was talking to the lady she was, you know, you get to talking to your hairdresser, right? And you get very close. Anyway, she had put on some weight and she had some trials and tribulations. We were talking about this. I said, you know what? I can bring you the answer next month when I come back, because I'm going to see the doctor who can change your life. Just think of all the people you could help if you get this book and you put it in their hands as well. Yeah. Dr. Smith, I've got to thank you for writing this. There's really, I know there's a lot of publications out there about this subject, but there's not that many that really get to the meat of the matter and help us know just what to do, and I thank you for that. Now, before we go on into getting to the specifics about all the estrogen, Richard's got a question that's been on his mind. He wants to ask you.
I've thought about this for really decades. When we speak of longevity and extending human lifespan past the 100, 120 and plus, can we go to 300, 400? I always come back to, are we taking God out of the picture when we control our lifespan? What's your feelings on that?
That's a really interesting question. When people expire or when they die is really God's plan.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what man designs, what he devises. Hopefully what we can do is help people live healthier.
Yeah.
And really that's part of God's plan anyway. Our body is the temple of God, and it's supposed to be kept that way. But when we die is when God's plan is. That doesn't change.
You know, throughout my study of medicine, I've always been amazed at the little quizzes God gives us that we have to figure out in order to have a fulfilling life. You experience that too? Little quizzes, little conundrums that we have to figure out?
Absolutely. And I've learned over the years that what I'm seeing is really a snapshot, and God is seeing the whole picture. And so really it is about trusting God. My favorite book on earth beside the Bible is Trusting God Even When Life Hurts by Jerry Bridges.
Yeah.
It's a fabulous book looking at this whole idea.
So it doesn't take God out of the picture. We're trying to maximize our health so that we can be better witnesses and serve Him better. That's how I think of it.
I totally agree with you.
Okay. Well, good. See, now I'm comfortable. Thank you for clearing that up, Professor. All right, let's get down to some hard facts about estrogen. Let's pick estrogen apart. What estrogens do men and women, for that matter, have in their body? What role? Can you give us an overview of estrogen?
Yes. The body makes 3 estrogens, and men make all 3 just like women do.
So I have the same issue?
You do.
But maybe a little different amount?
You have a different amount.
Okay.
So let's start with men, since you asked.
Okay.
Males make a little bit of estrogen for memory and bone structure. As men age, what happens is their estrogen levels can increase, and there's many reasons why. Zinc deficiency, being a little bit overweight, the liver doesn't function well, and believe it or not, many medicines can raise estrogen in men. So what we do is we want your estrogen to be optimized. We measure the levels, and if estrogen is too high as men age, we bring it down to normal, but not to 0.
Yeah, okay.
With women, it's very different. As you know, women make more estrogen than men. And women make 3 varieties, the E1, E2, and E3. They have scientific names, but let's keep it simple.
Sure.
The E1 estrogen is the one that we don't replace because it's linked to breast cancer.
Okay.
E2 estrogen is the 400 functions we were talking about before. And then E3 estrogen is the one that most scientists believe helps decrease our breast cancer risk. There are now medical trials going on using E3 estrogen to treat breast cancer with tamoxifen. So we're awaiting the results of those trials. Also, E3 estrogen is used to treat MS. That is no longer experimental. That is the standard of care now.
Okay. Does it go E1 is first in life, E2 is second in life, E3 is third? Could it be that simple, or is there more to it?
No. It always makes it more interesting to be a little more complex.
Okay.
E1 estrogen women make more of as they age. They also make more E1 estrogen if they tend to be a little bit overweight. The E2 estrogen is our primary function, and E3 in our lifetime we make more when we're pregnant. And so the E3 estrogen is key in helping maintain the pregnancy and how healthy our children are.
Okay. Now, if I were to need estrogen replacement as a woman, or as a man, I guess, so some men might, I don't know, you'd have to answer that. Which one of those, E1, 2, or 3, would they be most likely to take? Or ratios, or what? What would you do most often?
We don't replace hormones in men that are
Okay.
estrogen.
Okay.
But for women, we replace the E2 and the E3.
Okay.
We do not replace the E1.
Because that's the bad guy, or it
Correct.
can be bad if you have too much.
Exactly.
Okay, so does that kind of making
Yeah,
sense?
is the E1 the one that's linked to the heart disease in women, that it's postmenopausal?
E2
two.
deficiency is linked to heart disease.
As opposed to too much of one, it's too little of two.
Yes. When it comes to breast cancer, though, it's about E1. And it's how the body breaks down E1. And the good news is, even if you've inherited a gene where your body does not break down the E1 estrogen appropriately, we can fix it in 100% of patients, nutritionally. And so let's say you have a family history of breast cancer. I do. I have it
Okay.
on both sides of my family.
Oh my, yeah.
It was not surprising when I tested my own estrogen metabolization that I wasn't breaking down estrogen appropriately.
Okay.
And so that's fixable. And so I take a special kind of B vitamin, and that helps my body break down estrogen the way it's supposed to.
Well, that leads me to my next question. In your book, you discuss at length how the body detoxifies hormones. And folks, this can get complicated, but we're going to keep it simple. Have you ever noticed when really bright people explain something, it's a lot easier to understand? Well, we got a really bright person today, so that's going to help us. Detoxifying hormones. And we've seen in our news so many programs of how these chemicals in our environment have hormone-like activities. See, now it's starting to get complicated. Pesticides and flame
Plastics.
retardants and all plastics and all. How should we approach that? How can I keep all this stuff? Metabolism of estrogens, pollutants, etc. How does that affect us?
It affects us greatly because estrogen is metabolized and broken down inside the liver. And the liver is the one that tends to house a lot of these bad things. And the good news, again, is that we are able to scientifically measure how the body's detoxifying everything, how the liver works, and in most cases, again, we can fix this nutritionally.
Yeah.
So you're saying that your liver has to be functioning properly in order to take care of filtering out these estrogens.
Absolutely.
So everything is a synchronization.
It is, including our environmental estrogens that we get as well.
So the plastic issue, the phthalates, gender benders,
Yes.
sometimes scientists overstate their pet projects, and it's understandable. They work with it for years. Do you feel this is being overstated, the potential of pollutants affecting our hormone levels, or is this the real deal?
I think it's the real deal, but
Okay.
again, it depends on how your body works. So now we can measure the phthalates in your body. And so as a scientist, you
see,
and I
that's
are both
perfect.
scientists,
Yeah.
let's measure. And you would need to see a metabolic anti-aging specialist that's fellowship trained in order to have that done.
So how would a person get in touch with someone like you or you yourself and come to you as a patient? How do we do that?
Well, people are certainly welcome to email me, and
Okay.
I'm happy to let them know a fellowship trained doctor in their community.
So you have the whole organization set up to help people with these, because it does get complicated, and we want to do the right thing with it.
We do. Even
Yeah.
if you take too many nutrients, for example, that can be a problem. And so it's important to measure those too.
Now, before we go off to our break, we've had recent new studies that reveal Americans have doubled their rate of antidepressant consumption in the last 15 years. And one of the major groups is women in the struggling years from 40 to 60. Does hormones have something to do with that?
An immense amount. And so after break, let's discuss that.
An immense amount. Do the antidepressants raise hormone levels? Does it impact hormone?
It does.
It does,
Because
but-
they're neurotransmitters, they have a direct relationship with the female hormones.
But are we just putting a patch over something?
Well, let's talk about that when we come back and how
Oh, this
you would
one's
look at it.
complicated too, but
It
this
is.
is important because the use of 2 and 3 and 4 medicines for depression is exploding.
Yes.
It is.
Important issue. We'll discuss it more when we return.